Welcome back to the Deep Dive, where we get to the bottom of things.
That's right.
And today, we're going deep into the world of biologics and biosimilars.
Yeah, so we're talking about those really complex medicines
Yeah.
made from living organisms like monoclonal antibodies
Right.
or even insulin.
Okay.
And they're revolutionizing how we treat some of these
Yeah.
really tough diseases.
Absolutely. I mean, they're kind of like the cutting edge
Yeah.
of modern medicine.
Yeah, and as these treatments become more and more commonplace,
Right.
we're starting to see this rise in biosimilars, which are kind of like the generic versions of these biologics.
Yeah.
And they're aiming to make these treatments more affordable
Okay.
and accessible.
So biologics are obviously more complex than your average small molecule drug.
Absolutely.
So how are they fundamentally different?
Well, think about a small molecule drug like aspirin.
Okay.
It's a relatively simple structure,
Yeah.
easy to replicate. You can synthesize it chemically.
Got it.
Now picture a biologic, like a monoclonal antibody.
Right.
Massive, complex protein.
Okay.
Intricate folds.
Yeah.
Modification.
So more like a spaceship than a bicycle in terms of complexity.
That's a great analogy.
Right.
And this complexity influences everything from production
Right.
to regulation.
Okay.
Manufacturing these biologics requires specialized facilities,
Yeah.
strict control over these living systems.
Right.
It's a completely different world from
Right.
chemically synthesizing small molecules.
I bet.
It's a big deal.
Yeah. I can only imagine the quality control issues there.
Oh, yeah.
Must be a nightmare.
Even analyzing these biologics is way more challenging.
Okay.
With small molecules, you can just easily verify the structure.
Yeah.
But with biologics, you're not only confirming what's in it,
Right.
but also characterizing these slight variations in structure
Interesting.
that can occur between different batches.
Yeah, makes sense. And I bet this complexity has a really big impact on
Absolutely.
regulatory approval.
Yeah.
Especially for the biosimilars,
Absolutely.
because they're trying to get them approved
Yeah.
as similar enough
It's a very high bar.
to the original.
Yes, the FDA has set a very high bar for these biosimilars.
Okay.
It's not like generic small molecule drugs where you just demonstrate chemical equivalence.
Yeah.
Biosimilars need to go through a whole bunch of tests
Oh.
to prove that they are highly similar
Okay.
to the original biologic, what's called the reference product.
So it's not just what's in it, but how it actually performs
You
in
got it.
people.
Exactly. The FDA wants to make sure that biosimilars have comparable efficacy and safety.
Okay.
And this is done through rigorous clinical trials,
Okay.
including assessments of how the drug moves through the body and its effects.
I was actually looking at this document from the FDA
Yeah.
about their meetings with companies that are developing biosimilars.
Right.
And I have to say, the amount of data they require, even before a meeting, is incredible.
Oh, yeah.
They want extensive documentation,
Yes.
specific data up front, and it really shows how seriously they take the safety
Absolutely.
and efficacy
Absolutely.
of these complex medicines.
Yeah.
So we've established that biologics are complex.
Yes.
They require specialized manufacturing.
Yes.
And they face these tougher regulatory hurdles.
Yes.
But why are they such a big deal anyway?
Well, they're really changing the way we approach some of the toughest diseases out there.
Okay.
Biologics are at the forefront of treatments for
Yeah.
cancer autoimmune disorders
Right.
and even genetic diseases. They're
Yeah.
really the cutting edge of medical innovation.
And they must take up a significant portion of the pharmaceutical market as well.
Oh, yeah.
I would imagine.
Absolutely.
A lot of these blockbuster drugs that we see,
Yeah.
with billions of dollars in sales every year,
Right.
are biologics.
Many of them are, yes.
But their high cost is a huge hurdle for patients,
Is.
which is where biosimilars come in,
Exactly.
trying to provide that same treatment but at a lower cost.
Yeah, biosimilars have the potential to really increase access
Yeah.
to these life-changing therapies.
Oh, right?
We're already seeing their impact on the market, especially for
Yeah.
commonly used biologics like insulin
Okay.
and monoclonal antibodies.
So it's really kind of a game changer for a lot of people who might not otherwise be able to.
Absolutely.
Wait
It
a
has
minute.
that potential. Yes.
Yeah.
There's another category within biologics that we should talk about, though.
Okay.
Vaccines.
Yeah.
They present kind of a fascinating twist
Right.
on this whole regulatory landscape.
Yeah, because they still fall under that biologics umbrella,
Yeah.
but they're not treating a disease.
Right.
They're preventing it.
Exactly.
So there's additional levels of complexity there, I would argue.
Absolutely. And while vaccines still adhere to those same stringent regulations for biologics,
Yeah.
there are additional layers of complexity.
So what kind of complexity are we talking about?
Well, think about it.
Okay.
With a drug, you're typically treating somebody who's ill.
Right.
With a vaccine, you're giving it to a healthy person to try to prevent them from getting sick.
Right.
So the safety standards are even higher.
Makes sense.
Right.
Yeah.
And in addition to demonstrating the safety and efficacy,
Yeah.
vaccines also have to prove their ability to trigger the desired immune response,
Right.
what we call immunogenicity.
Okay.
And this often involves large-scale population studies
Wow.
to assess their effectiveness in preventing disease across diverse groups of people.
So yeah, it's a much more intricate process for a vaccine than for any other biologic.
It is a complex and meticulous process, reflecting the enormous impact that vaccines have on public health.
Absolutely.
It's a big deal.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really is.
Okay, so we talked a lot about the complexity, the regulations surrounding biologics and biosimilars.
Yeah.
But let's kind of shift gears a little bit.
Okay.
And talk about the current landscape of biologics in the market.
Okay.
What kind of impact are they having on human health?
Well, they're increasingly dominating the pharmaceutical landscape.
Okay.
They're being used to treat a really wide range of conditions.
Okay.
Everything from chronic diseases like rheumatoid arthritis and Crohn's disease to life-threatening illnesses like cancer.
So they're really kind of revolutionizing medicine.
They are, yeah.
In a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Can you give us any specific examples of how they're making a difference?
Absolutely. So in oncology, for instance, monoclonal antibodies have emerged as a really powerful weapon against cancer.
Okay.
These targeted therapies work by recognizing and attacking specific proteins that are found on cancer cells. So you minimize the damage to healthy tissues.
It's almost like a guided missile.
It is.
Going in and taking out
just a great analogy.
Only the cancer cells.
Yeah.
Leaving everything else alone.
It's amazing. And the results have been remarkable.
Okay.
Monoclonal antibodies have significantly improved survival rates for certain types of cancers and have even led to long-term remission in some cases.
That's great. So it sounds like biologics are offering some real hope for people.
Absolutely.
Facing these really challenging conditions.
And it's not just cancer.
Okay.
Biologics are transforming the treatment landscape for autoimmune diseases as well.
Okay.
For example, TNF inhibitors, another type of biologic, are being used to manage things like rheumatoid arthritis and psoriasis really effectively, significantly improving patients' quality of life.
So the possibilities really seem endless.
Yeah.
What about the future?
Of biologics. What kind of advancements are?
Well, the future is really exciting.
Okay.
Researchers are constantly exploring new ways to harness the power of living organisms to treat disease.
Okay.
One really promising area is gene therapy, which involves modifying genes to correct genetic defects or introduce these therapeutic proteins.
So gene therapy sounds like something straight out of Star Trek.
It really does.
What kind of potential does that hold?
Well, it has the potential to cure diseases that were once considered incurable.
Right.
Imagine being able to replace a faulty gene with a healthy one, effectively eliminating a genetic disorder.
That's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
What other areas of research are generating excitement?
Another exciting area is personalized medicine, which involves tailoring treatments to an individual's specific genetic makeup.
So it's like a custom-made treatment plan?
That's exactly right.
So by understanding an individual's genetic profile, we can actually predict how they will respond to specific therapies and identify the best course of treatment.
That's incredible. It sounds like we're really on the verge of
I think so.
A very personalized approach to medicine.
Yeah, and these advancements in biologics are playing a key role in this whole transformation.
So we've talked about the complexity, the regulation, the impact on human health, the really exciting future of biologics.
Yes.
Are there any ethical considerations?
Oh, of course. Ethical considerations are paramount in any field of medicine. And biologics are no exception. It's really essential to ensure that these therapies are used responsibly and equitably, prioritizing patient safety and well-being above all else.
What kind of steps are being taken
to
address those concerns?
A robust framework of regulations and guidelines in place to govern the development and use of biologics. The FDA, for instance, has stringent requirements for clinical trials and post-market surveillance to monitor the safety and effectiveness of these treatments.
So there are checks and balances in place.
Absolutely.
To make sure that...
And beyond the regulatory framework, there's an ongoing dialogue and debate within the medical and scientific communities about the ethical implications of biologics, particularly as we venture into these new frontiers like gene editing and personalized medicine.
A lot of thought is going into how we navigate these
It really is.
issues.
Yes, and that's essential. As we continue to push the boundaries of medicine with these powerful new therapies.
Okay, so we've explored this world of biologics from multiple angles, their complexity, their impact on healthcare, the exciting research on the horizon, the ethical considerations. I want to circle back to something you mentioned earlier. The rise of biosimilars.
Sure.
Can you tell us a little bit more about their role in making these treatments more accessible?
So biosimilars are essentially more affordable versions of existing biologics. They're designed to have the same safety and efficacy as the original biologic, but they're typically sold at a lower price.
So they're almost like the generic versions.
That's a good way to think about it. But unlike generic small molecule drugs, which are chemically identical to the original drug, biosimilars aren't exact copies. They're highly similar. But there might be subtle differences in their molecular structure.
That makes sense, given the complexity of these molecules that we've been talking about. But if they're not exact copies, how can we be sure
Well, that's a great question.
that they're just as effective and safe as the original?
And that's where the rigorous approval process for biosimilars comes into play. The FDA requires extensive data to demonstrate that a biosimilar is highly similar to the reference product in terms of its structure, function, and clinical performance.
So it's not just looking at it and saying, yeah, these molecules look similar.
Exactly.
They have to actually prove that they work the same.
They do. Biosimilar developers have to conduct clinical trials, comparing the biosimilar to the reference product, demonstrating that there are no clinically meaningful differences in terms of safety, purity, and potency.
Why go through all that trouble? Why not just make a generic?
It comes down to the complexity of these molecules. Because biologics are made from living organisms. They're inherently more variable than small molecule drugs. It's impossible to create an exact replica.
So it's kind of like if you tried to copy a masterpiece painting.
That's a great analogy.
You can get close. But there's always going to be slight differences.
There will be, And those subtle differences could impact the drug's safety and effectiveness. And that's why the FDA has established such stringent requirements for biosimilars, ensuring that they meet the same high standards as the original biologics.
So it's really about balancing innovation with patient safety.
It is.
Making sure that these treatments are effective and accessible.
You got it.
Now I'm curious about the impact biosimilars are having on the market. Are they truly making a difference?
They are.
In terms of affordability?
Absolutely. The introduction of biosimilars has really injected competition into the market, which has driven down prices for both the original biologics and their biosimilar counterparts.
So it's good for everybody.
It has resulted in significant cost savings for both patients and healthcare systems.
So they're really playing a vital role.
They are.
In expanding access to these treatments.
And as more biosimilars become available, we can expect even greater cost savings and improved access to these essential therapies.
So we've delved into this complex world of biologics and biosimilars. Explored their characteristics. The regulations surrounding their development. Their impact on human health. But before we wrap up this deep dive, I want to touch on one more critical aspect. The role of research and development in pushing the boundaries of this field. What are some of the areas that scientists are focusing on?
That's a great question. Yeah. Research and development are really the lifeblood of this field.
Right.
Scientists are constantly striving to develop new and improved therapies.
Okay.
Tackling those unmet medical needs.
Right.
Addressing limitations of existing treatments.
So it's a very dynamic and fast-paced field.
Yeah.
What are some of the areas that are generating the most excitement?
Well, one area that is really capturing a lot of attention is the development of next-generation biologics.
Okay.
These are essentially enhanced versions of existing therapies designed to be more potent, more targeted, and have fewer side effects.
So we're taking a really powerful tool and making it even more precise.
Yeah, scientists are using innovative techniques like protein engineering and antibody drug conjugates to create these next-generation biologics. Essentially, they're tweaking the structure of these molecules to enhance their therapeutic potential.
That's incredible. What other areas of research are kind of...
Another exciting frontier is the exploration of new therapeutic targets. Scientists are constantly uncovering these new biological pathways and mechanisms involved in disease. And this opens up new possibilities for targeted therapies.
So we're expanding our map
Exactly.
of the human body.
That's a great way to put it.
Finding new places.
Yes, and this expanded understanding of human biology is fueling the development of these novel biologics that can target these newly discovered pathways.
It seems like the potential for innovation in this field is limitless.
It really is.
Yeah.
And with each breakthrough, we move closer to a future where diseases that were once considered incurable become manageable or even curable.
That's an inspiring vision.
It is, yeah.
So we've covered a lot of ground today.
We have.
From the complexities of biologics to the future that lies ahead.
Yeah.
But before we conclude, what's the one key takeaway?
I think the key takeaway is this. Biologics represent a paradigm shift in medicine. They're ushering in an era of highly targeted and personalized therapies with the potential to transform human health.
So it's a time of great promise and excitement.
It is.
But also one that requires careful consideration.
It does.
You know, making sure we're using these tools.
Absolutely. As we venture deeper into this uncharted territory, we need to proceed with both enthusiasm and caution, ensuring that these life-changing therapies benefit all of humanity.
Well said. Yeah, it really is amazing to think about how far we've come. And the possibilities that lie ahead. As we wrap up this deep dive into biologics and biosimilars, what's the one thing you want our listeners to walk away with?
I think the most important thing is that biologics represent a fundamental shift in how we approach medicine. They're moving us away from this one-size-fits-all approach to treatment and towards this future of personalized medicine, where therapies are tailored to each individual's needs and characteristics.
So it's almost like going from mass production to, bespoke tailoring.
Exactly. And this shift has profound implications for how we develop, manufacture, regulate, and administer these therapies.
Yeah, it's really fascinating to consider how this is all going to play out. But for our listeners who might be interested in learning more about biologics and biosimilars, what resources would you recommend?
Well, there are some excellent resources available online and in libraries. The FDA website, for instance, has a wealth of information on biologics and biosimilars, including their approval process, safety guidelines, and educational materials for patients.
That's a great starting point. What about organizations or groups?
The Biosimilars Council is a great resource for information on biosimilars, their development, and their impact on healthcare affordability. They advocate for policies that promote access to these therapies and provide educational resources for healthcare professionals and patients.
Great suggestions. And of course, you can always stay informed about these advances in medical research.
Absolutely.
Through reputable sources.
Yes, knowledge is power. Especially when it comes to our health.
Well said.
Yeah.
On that note, we'll wrap up this episode of The Deep Dive. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
On this journey into the world of biologics and biosimilars.
It's been a pleasure.
And to our listeners, remember to keep those brains buzzing.
Yeah.
And those questions flowing.
Absolutely.
We'll be back soon with another deep dive into a fascinating topic.
Sounds good.
Until then, stay curious.
And stay well.